Hello, everyone. What's happening? Welcome back to what we're surely now calling episode 3 in the series of See? I told you Corbett was having a mental breakdown. Because here I am on a Saturday night, 10:15, speaking to myself in an empty room yet again. I leave for 16, 17 days. I'm away for work. So I'll be leaving using the capable hands of the boys to talk you through tomorrow's results against Aberdeen, and then we've got games against Dundee, Copenhagen, Kilmarnock away. I think potentially by the time I'm back, so they'll have loads to talk about, and they'll keep the podcast coming. But with myself being in Bruges on Thursday, along with Kev, um, and before I go, I thought it'd be best to jump on and try and get some content, some opinions on the game itself, but probably more talking points was what happened in the stands, as you'll have probably seen by the reaction on social medias and kickback, etc., etc. There were more than a couple of flashpoints, so to speak, in the away end on Thursday night. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the game itself, the performance, the result, where it leaves us. Uh, I'll look forward to tomorrow. We play Aberdeen in what isn't categorically the biggest game of the season. By the time this comes out or you listen to it, we'll probably know the result of that game. I don't know where Thursday leaves the mood music, because Thursday was a tough one to take. We'll talk about that in a wee bit. But I thought I would jump on and give you more evidence that I'm definitely having some form of mental breakdown, sitting in what looks like a shoe cupboard, speaking to myself in a house where I'm the only person in it as well. So normal service will be resumed when I come back from work. Right, so Thursday, obviously away trip to Bruges. It was my 10th European away day for Hearts, and actually driving to Charleroi Airport from Bruges yesterday, solemn in a car with my dad and Andy, sitting in silence driving. I was trying to figure out what the catalyst was, or what the driver was for what we've seen across the couple of days in Belgium. First and foremost, I'll say that it, inside the stadium was there were flashpoints, but outside the stadium in terms of the squares, the meeting points and all that stuff, if you've been to one European away game following Hearts, that was exactly what this was. There was nothing new or different to standing in the square with 3,000, 4,000 Hearts fans. There was drinking, there was bevying, there was people that were too drunk, there were people that were clearly fleeing, there were people that were singing the songs that we all hear all the time. Uh, so in terms of people that weren't there or maybe been reading the stories and the sort of sensationalist headlines of what happened, if you've been to one European away game of Hearts, that's what it was pre-game in the days leading up to where it was. If you went to some pubs, you could have got a good mix of people, and if you got another, you could have got a bad mix of people. I've been like that everywhere I've went following Hearts. So pre-game, there wasn't that much that was mental. A couple of things I will say is the half and half scarves really annoyed me. I know that people probably bought them thinking it was funny and ironic, but actually it's one of those things that I'd like us to quite a hardline stance on as a group, as a fan base, because I watch the English Premier League week in, week out, and yeah, it's filled with amazing football players, and the facilities are unreal, and the stadiums look unreal, and it's full to the brim every week. But there's no atmosphere, there's no connection to the club. These are billionaire boys' playthings, and half scarves and all that stuff play a huge part in it. Cardboard signs saying Cammy Devlin, geese your socks. We've got to do something about it. And the other thing that was driving me, they were green and white. What sane Hearts fan would kick about with a scarf that was green and white? I just that's no, it's no funny, it's no ironic. That's got to stop. Buy one as a souvenir, fine. I've got nothing against it. That's like a European thing. You know, I've seen those scarves loads kicking about before, Liverpool Hearts, all that stuff. But a green and white scarf and folk were wearing them to the game and that. Come on, we've got to we've got to be better than that. Uh, as a fan base, that was the worst thing that I seen in the markets and in the squares on the build up to the game. Uh, the serious point, and it's one I'll make later about the actual organisation of it, because I think that the organisation of the buses there and from the stadium, the waiting inside the stadium to get out, the waiting outside the stadium to get in, it was very badly organised, and I don't know who's to blame for that. And I believe Hearts will be given that point over to the authorities, UEFA and Circa Bruges as well. Obviously, they'll be sheepish given some of the stuff that happened uh, in the away end, but it is a point that needs to be raised. 4,000 Hearts fans there, four buses that could maybe take 70 or 80 people a shot, 16, 17 trips it would need to get the Hearts fans to the stadium. They made us meet in a square that was 50-mile walk away, 50-mile walk, 50-minute walk away from the stadium, and then put on insufficient buses to get the numbers that were there. Loads of folk ended up in scrums and pushing and shoving, and loads of folk just patched it and walked, and then on the way out as well, it was the same. And I think that fanned the flames of an already angst atmosphere. When you get to the stadium and you're already excited, boozed up, and then you're stuck no on a bus or no getting on a bus or getting pushed and shoved about bus. I think people arrived to the stadium pretty angry, and then the performance, the result, and what it was like inside the ground just amplified that completely. But before we touch on it, I was thinking in the car ride home about this journey that we're on as a club, and I keep speaking about it before. One of the things you'll hear me, and you're probably sick of hearing me talk about the atmosphere uh, at home games, at away games, just how we need to sort of no reteach yourself. I don't know if that's the right word, but we've been so for the past 3 decades we've had so much to rebel against and fight against that the football was almost second. It was almost secondary. Save the Hearts, save the Tynecastle, save First Administration, back the foundation, rebel against Budge and Levine, then the demotion. We've always had like loads of stuff to be angry about, and we've kind of forgot what it's like to actually just follow the team for football reasons. And one of those things, along with the atmosphere, is that as we get better and bigger and more consistent, right now we have this stag do mentality where we're used to like one European away trip a season, maybe two if we get through the playoffs. So you're always like, well, I can't go to both, so I'll go to one. So you have that mentality of this is my one European away day. The last one I had was 10 years ago at Liverpool or wherever it was. So I'm going to let my hair down. I'm going to go Tonto. And that's what Thursday was, is that you get the day trippers, you get the people that don't go home and away, they just come out for the big games, somehow manage to get themselves a ticket. The atmosphere or the excitement of being at an away day on your stag do, it's like anybody, normal humans going on a night out on a Saturday, they probably will have a few drinks, let their hair down or whatever, but you put a group of people together and say you're going on a stag do, and it almost eggs you on to be outrageous. There'll be outrageous things said, outrageous things done, people will be drinking ridiculous amounts. It kind of comes with the territory of, well, it's a stag do, so let's go hell for leather. And I think we're like that right now with European football. We're not used to having 4, 6, 7 European games three or four of them being away games. So as we get consistent, the elephant in the room is that we're bottom of the league. We're going to be our European away day next year is going to be Arbroath if we don't get our finger it. But where the club's ambitions are and where they want to be, European football and group stage European football is something they want on the agenda every single season. And with that, we're going to have to grow and learn how to be away day European fans because folk will die. You can't, your liver will pack in. We can't every away game, every 2 weeks, we could be playing, or every 3 weeks, we could be playing away in Europe. It's expensive, but also you're like I said, you can't go hell for leather at every single one. And I think when the fixtures came out, we weren't allowed to go to Minsk uh, because of their crowd situation. So that was a behind closed doors game. That left two. That left two, which was Bruges and then Copenhagen. Copenhagen's expensive, so I think people earmarked the Bruges one as it's an accessible place to go, relatively cheap. That's the one I'm going to go to. That's my stag do. I'm going to go on it, and I think that's what we see on Thursday. Is and I'm not everything I say here right now. Right, I'm not trying to condone what was happening. Right, I'll make my stance pretty clear now. I'd, for Hearts' sake and the football club's sake, I'd prefer that we stayed away from songs about the IRA and all that sort of stuff. I'm not one to be offended by flags or singing at the football, but I understand where we are and where society is. I understand that that's not any good for Hearts because if UEFA pick up on it from Thursday and it goes down the political chanting route, you're looking at quite significant fines for Hearts. 25, 30,000 pound, maybe even more. That's a lot of money to a club like Hearts. If we're doing that every 3 or 4 weeks, it soon mounts up. So we're going to have to teach ourselves to get out of that mentality of this is my stag do. So basically, there's no rules, no regulations. I'm letting my hair down. Your man's had a few wines. I'm going for it. Right? We need to break that mentality. That's going to take time. Right? That's going to take time. Uh, the fighting was ridiculous. There is no excuse for that. There were reasons as to why the anger had built up, but lashing out and fighting each other just made us look daft. Um, that's got to get stopped. But the other thing too, this whole like not the grassing culture, but people that seem to just want to pick up on absolutely everything and make it out as if it's this person's fault or that's group's fault or this always happened or it's the same people or it's this, that and the other. Everybody, you've got you make mistakes is when you learn, right? And I'm not condoning what's happened or whatever, but we've got to get better as a fan base. We've got to look out for each other as a fan base. I think we're at this point now where we argue amongst ourselves more than we argue with anybody else. And it creates tension. It creates tension. And Thursday it spilled over and it boiled over. We need to address all of it, every single bit, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We need to get, though I say grown up, but we need to get more unified as a fan base when it comes to backing the team. And getting out of that, it's my stag do mentality will help. It's going to be a long thing. It's going to be a long process, and hopefully it's something that we learn over the next coming years because hopefully we've got European football constant. That'll take some of the pressure off what we see, but I think that added to some of the what was driving what we've seen in on Thursday. Because again, like you look at Florence, it was drunk, messy, really, really drunk, and we got battered, and everybody was in good spirits. I don't know if it was because we never expected to beat Fiorentina, so it was let's just go over for a party anyway, and that's what we did. The weather was nice. It's a nice city. It was freezing in Bruges. The stadium was a dump, and the team that we were playing are the Belgian Queen of the South, and the performance wasn't good. And I think everything it was like a perfect toxic cycle that just erupted on Thursday, and it was unsavoury. It was the worst European away trip I've been on in terms of the game and the atmosphere. Uh, it just, for the minute I got into the stadium, I just felt uneasy. Not uneasy, that's not, but it just felt no like some of the other away games I'd been to. Um, so it's definitely something that I think we can all look ourselves in the mirror and think about how do we get better at being more responsible when we're on the road, because the team needs the backing. Then the actual things that definitely didn't help, like I said, the the buses and how badly organised they were. You got four coaches to take 4,000 Hearts fans across town, and it just, when the first group of people left and the first buses left, the others were waiting on buses to come back to pick people up, and it was just dangerous. It was an absolute scrum. You see the queue of people waiting to get on the buses. It wasn't organised well enough. I think the Belgian police even said that uh, as well. I was standing talking to them at one of the many military style barricades that there were on the road, that was like, I don't know if it was barbed wire fence or razor wire, or if it was just normal, like, I don't know, wire or something, but they had like big things that would stop, look like they would stop tanks going down a war torn street. It was crazy, and they said that this is, whoever's responsible for this is to blame because it wasn't organised enough. So we were on one of the first buses out to the stadium. Got to the stadium, they wouldn't let us in. So again, we were waiting in a bit of a holding pen to get through the line of security. And again, like we've seen at Easter Road and Category A type matches, two lines of security to get through. You get through the police ticket check, pat down into the next security check, pat down. It was a dump around the stadium. I know I've slagged Tynecastle and the surrounding areas around the Undercroft and all that sort of stuff, but this was a proper dump. This was a field with some fences. It looked like the type of, like a dodgy festival or something you were going to, with like the fake pretend temporary fences up, weeds, overgrown grass everywhere, broken path and pavement, and you had to walk through mud to get to a bit. It looked ridiculous. I was thinking to myself, knowing how strict the rules are for UEFA, how does this pass muster? Because this was shocking. Then again, you get to the turnstiles. Again, it's another queuing system of getting in, scan yourself in. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I don't drink, so it wasn't hazy memory or whatever. But from the point of getting out and into the stand, I can't remember of many stewards, if any. There were a security detail that said they had like guard dogs or sniffer dogs, but my understanding was they were checking for pyro. But in terms of like stewards manning stairwells and pointing people in the direction of where they were supposed to be going, it felt like a total free for all in the stand. So you're in 2 hours before the game kicks off in a place where people were already angry at how messy the buses were, how messy the bit into the stadium was, and then you can buy alcohol in the stadium. So the first group of folks that were there, the first 4 to 8 buses that got there, they just picked where they wanted to stand or congregate. And by the time the teams came out, the place, most of the rows were at the front were completely and utterly overcrowded. You're looking at the stairwell or the concourse, if you want to call it, at the front. That was 4 people deep in rows. Then the stand was like what the old main stand used to be like, the old terrace, the old enclosure, where basically it used to be like the wooden steps that everybody stood on, and then safe standing came in, so they put a seat on it. They never fixed it. It wasn't any higher, any lower. They just literally, wherever somebody would stand, they put a seat there, and that was it all the way along. So what that resulted in is that you had 2 rows of people in every row. So you had the people that were standing on the seats, and then you had the people that were standing in the space where your feet would go if you were sitting on the seat. So every row, the first 10 rows, it was 2 deep every row. And what that meant was that if one person fell or stumbled or was too drunk and fell over, it was like dominoes. It knocked everybody over. So, but that was from like that was an hour and a half, an hour before the game kicked off. That was building up. Then people were trying to get round people that were on chairs to get to the toilets or to go get beer. Then they were coming back with beer and they're banging into people, and beer was getting spilt. People were falling over, and it was start. You could sense it was starting to get. People were starting to get really annoyed that it was happening constantly. And then, as what happens at gigs or at festivals, the people that were at the back that were finishing their beers were just launching their plastic cup down. They were thinking it was going down and into the bottom tier, but if it was in there, it was hitting people that were still standing or in the rows. People were getting drenched in beer. Then that was just that. I think that just added to the anger. The amount of fights that I seen from people that were pushing each other, falling over, falling into each other, kids that were getting knocked over. The anger before a ball was even kicked was already there. I'd seen two or three fights before the game had even kicked off. Then the game kicked off and the performance wasn't great, but it wasn't. Well, I'll go into the actual performance itself because I watched the highlights again. I've rewatched the game. I'm very disappointed that Hearts got beat off that side. I know that it's easy to say, but we created more than enough chances, and they were not a good side. We gifted them two goals and let them off the hook with the chances that we missed. So again, that was fine. But we started a bit slow. Uh, and people's like we go back to what I said at the start, but people are just they seem so desperate for somebody to do something wrong to get angry at them. Whether it be Vargas. Vargas played really well in the first half. Really well. He actually played well in the second half, in my opinion. I know that some people will probably be screaming and saying, no, he didn't. Created chances, he ran about, he had his man on toast and he kept going at him. But yet he made one mistake or didn't do something. People were erupting at him, furious at him. Shankland, the same treatment. You got Devlin getting the same treatment. You had Danda getting battered. Now, I'll put my hands up and I was battering Danda because I thought he was the worst player in the park. Uh, Forrest was getting battered. Gordon's kicking was getting battered, and it was just everything was just building and building and building. And then obviously the the straw that broke the camel's back after already having numerous fights right throughout the first half at half time. Dangerous stuff as well, like people falling down the stairwell, sliding down the stairs when they were going down into the concourse bits to get like the kiosks for like beers or food or whatever. The toilets were disgusting. I've been in nicer toilets in jail. It was a dump. And then obviously the straw that broke the camel's back was Shankland in missing the penalty. I get that people are frustrated with Lawrence Shankland. No one will be more frustrated with Lawrence Shankland than Lawrence Shankland. People shouting Shankland, Shankland, get to fuck on a European away day that his goals brought us. Yeah, that's not. I'm not giving him a whole pass for how bad he's been this season. He's been well short, not only of his standards but of any standards. One goal in 22, it's not good enough, right? He knows that. You can see that he knows that. I think what tells a lot about Shankland's character is that he even wanted the penalty. People say he doesn't care, he wants away, all that sort of stuff. I get if that's your opinion, fine. I understand all that. But if he didn't care and didn't want to be there, Shankland is one goal away from becoming our all-time European leading goal scorer in 3 seasons. And people are shouting, Shankland, Shankland, get the fuck. It was crazy. And then that was like the ref hitting the bell for Royal Rumble because you had the people that reacted angrily to the people chanting that they started scrapping. Then the full time whistle went, and it's not my style. Not in Europe. Like I've said before, European football's a cut above where we're at. I don't think Soccer Bruges were any good and they shouldn't have beat us. But still, I didn't boo them. I didn't boo them off the park. European football, as it stands right now, and as I go back to what I said at the start, we're learning. We're a club that's growing into that space, into that arena. European football for us right now is a luxury. It's something that we should be treasuring given our very recent history in the competition. We should be happy to be having those games. Now that's just my opinion. I get it. People spent hundreds, if not thousands, of pounds to be there. If they want to be angry and react to the players, then I get that. I understand that. I wouldn't have booed. And then that again, so people kicked off and were fighting each other because people were booing. Then people were fighting and kicking off because people were clapping the team off the park, which was bananas in itself. Then we come out into what is a scrum. 4,000, they emptied 4,000 fans out and blocked them in by three police vans, wouldn't let them out. So it built up and built up and built up. Then eventually they moved the police vans or opened the police vans, and it was pushing and shoving and scrummage to get out of the space. We then got out of the space and into the road where you were only allowed to go one direction. And then you got there and somebody in a megaphone said that if you're looking to get buses back to the city centre, you have to go back to where you just were. So again, people just got furious and furious about it. So it was a recipe for disaster for the start. Things that'll get the club into trouble. And I laugh because I'm a huge, huge advocate of that. We should be allowed to buy alcohol at Scottish football grounds. It's crazy that we're not, when you think that you can go anywhere. I went to my kids' dance show and you could buy beer and wine at it. She's 8, right? But you go to a Scottish football game and you're not allowed it. I'm a huge advocate of it, but I was standing watching and thinking to myself, Anne Budge and the board and anybody else that's ever been at Europe as a Scottish team must be sitting looking at us throwing beer at the Bruges keeper, throwing beer down and into the empty tier, beer getting chucked all over the shop, and thinking Tynecastle's like 13 centimetres away from the touchline. You're telling me that Kyogo scores and we're not throwing beers at him, or Shanklin scores a last minute winner in the derby, beers on it getting chucked onto the park and chucked all over the place. Not, I get that in England you're not allowed to, drink pitch side, but let's be honest, right? We weren't allowed to drink on the buses in Bruges. People will make it happen if they want it to happen. And again, I just think, how do we have that argument when all we did was chuck beer the whole game? Chuck empties, chuck them down, chuck them at people, chuck them over people, throw them onto the pitch. There was vapes getting chucked, coins were getting chucked. It was crazy. It was crazy. And then obviously the chanting that's people are annoyed about is I don't get. Well, I don't. It's not. I don't get it. I do get it. But what surprises me the most is that nobody was singing that song Tuesday, Wednesday, right? As in, it was being sung. Ultras were singing it. It was being sung in pubs, but it didn't have the add-on bit. It didn't have the bit that's offended or upset everybody until in the stadium. And then it went from being something that a few people joined in with to when people clicked on to what was being sung or what was being said, suddenly it was the anthem. It was the anthem of the game. And at any time it stopped, somebody for the other side would start it back up again and go. And I'm not saying that every single person that was there was singing it or getting involved, because I didn't sing that bit. I get filmed or videoed with any of that stuff, and I can kiss goodbye to my career. Yeah, I'm not a dafty, but it blows my mind that that's what took it for being just the James Penrice chant, for example, is a belter, right? It's catchy as anything, and you're lucky if anybody outside of the Ultras was singing it. We had the Silvery Moon being sung. Nobody really joined in. Have you heard of the Heart of Midlothian? People sign it gusto for a bit and then it peters out. You've got Bertie Me, you've got Drew Busby, you've got all the old classics get sung. You get some participation, but it peters out Heart song as well, you'll get people that give it gusto for a few lines and then they'll stop. European song, the exact same. But yet, on repeat for 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time, the away end was happy to sing the Circa Bruges Away Ole Ole song. And I'm not condoning that. I'm not saying that it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Like I said at the start, I would prefer if we stayed away from all of that stuff. But I go back to it was the oh, it was the Seven Nations Army at Hampden. We all probably look back at that game now and think, yeah, that's a bit cringe. I wish I hadn't done that. Uh, and it feels like that's what it was. It was just the song of the day, if you know what I mean. It'll never be sung again. It was sung with gusto, and then it'll be put in the bin. But it was disappointing. I think the club will be sanctioned for it, and that just again that we had people fighting each other over what songs were being sung, what flags were being hung, where people were putting flags, all that. It was just carnage, and then obviously the result didn't help anybody. So it was everything was great up until the game. Bits of the game were great, but just the atmosphere was weird. Like I said, it was probably the worst away game that I've been to because you couldn't get any atmosphere going because there's just so much tension. Honestly, it just felt like it was a tinderbox. It just felt like it was ready to explode all the time, and to have that intimidating atmosphere for our own fans, but we can't give that to Dundee or Motherwell or whoever it is that come to Tynecastle. It blew my mind how angry everybody was at ourselves and at our own team when the team needed us our most. So it was a beautiful city, great and easy to get in and out of. Great trip. Had a brilliant time. Another one to add to the list with my dad because life goes on. And he gets less and less opportunities to do that. They're memories that I'll share forever. Being on a European day with my best mate and his boy Jake and my dad, like they're things that I buzz. I've got two wee girls. I can't wait to take them to European away days. I just hope that the repetition of being there every year, we get better at what actually European support looks like, rather than it just being one big massive Blackpool stag do where people just go absolutely mental, regardless of who or what gets impacted by it. So that's my 2 cents worth of what happened at the game. Like I said, I find it exhausting and it's too much of a canny worms and too emotive an argument to have songs about what is and isn't sectarian or bigoted, or what flags are sectarian and bigoted, and what's in bad taste for one isn't in bad taste to the other, and what's the club's history and all that sort of stuff. It gets exhausting because you're never going to please everybody, and it's hard to give an opinion that doesn't upset someone else about it. So I if I've given wishy-washy stuff or sat on the fence about some of it, then I'm sorry. I'm not deliberately trying to do it. It's exhausting, and I don't want to get anybody upset about where we're at with it. I think 2024 as a society, these issues across the board are becoming bigger and bigger. The division across all of us is getting bigger and bigger. It's not just a football thing. I find it exhausting that football always seems to carry the can for it. We have a societal problem where relationship with alcohol and drugs. We've got a societal problem with religion and tolerances and culture and all that sort of stuff. And it plays out whether we like it or not in working class environments, and that's football, unfortunately. And Hearts have a, both equal sides of people that like it, don't like it. The argument's exhaustive, and we could do it all day. So I think that Thursday was just one of those ones that hopefully was a one-off. Everybody's had their stag do it, their system. Hopefully Copenhagen's better. You'll be lucky if you could drink to excess in Copenhagen. It's mega expensive, so good luck to you. But hopefully it's a better day, a better atmosphere, and I'm looking forward to the next one because I said on kickback when I was trying to talk to some folk and try and douse some of the flames of some of the wild storytelling. At one point, I think the ultras were blamed for JFK and the moon landing conspiracies. Like it was crazy. Right. So the game itself, won't lie, I was pretty surprised to see Dander start. Uh, no Benny, no Spittle was a bit of a surprise for me. Blair Spittle in the last 2 months, along with James Penrice and Boateng, have been the shining lights in that team. He's the only one from midfield that carries any form of goal threat. So I was shocked to see him not there. Wasn't surprised to see Vargas there. Uh, wasn't surprised to see Shankland, and not surprised to see James Forrest there either. So Adam Forrester came in at right back as well. Uh, so yeah, there was no real great shocks from the team sheets other than what we just said there, Spittle and Benny not starting. But again, I think that I don't know why, and maybe other people will be the same as me. I thought Cercle Bruges and Club Bruges shared a stadium. I thought it was like Inter Milan, AC Milan. I thought that was what it was, and I remember seeing a couple of pictures, like on the Twitter feed, the Conference League or whatever it was, where it looked like the stadium was heaving. It was like a close-up picture of a section that was absolutely ram full of folk, and I thought, woof, this is going to be, it's got to be class, in a 40,000 seater stadium or whatever it turned out to be. That's probably not even that much, but whatever it was, I thought this is going to be unreal. And then I realised on the day of the game, sitting in one of the squares eating my. I am a man of culture, so I fully immerse myself in the culture and cuisine of any nation that I go to. I had some chips and some Diet Coke. Uh, it was superb. My only disappointment was it's Coke Zero. It's not Diet Coke. It's different. So not happy with that. But the chips, they were good. Too many of the wee crunchy ones. Maybe that'll upset people, but the wee crunchy crisps, chips. That's not my idea of a chip. I like a substantial chip. Uh, so I was a bit disappointed in that. But like I said, I won't bash any culture based on their cuisine. Chips and Diet Coke. It was okay. It was fine. I go to the Philippines tomorrow, so I'm hoping for a better chips and Diet Coke rating. I will let you know. I'll let you know what it is. I've already done a bit of research, uh, and Diet Coke does seem to be on the menu of a lot of places, so I should hopefully get that sorted. But I was googling it when I was sitting and realised that no, they do think they just have to play there because their ground isn't big enough or whatever it was, and then when you watched them, they just weren't a good, they weren't a great side. They were a limited side that kind of knew what their strengths were and played to it. And we took too long to settle into the game. The opening 10 minutes was very scrappy. Uh, a lot of misplaced passes. Couldn't really get out without being put under huge amounts of pressure. We couldn't really get out. Things just weren't clicking for us. But as the first half grew, we started to grow into the game and created some pretty decent chances. Shankland, it just feels like he's never going to score again. The back heel was superb, inches wide. It would have been a sensational way to break his duck and get back onto the goal scoring horse. But the other thing, he could have left it. He could have dummied it. Dander was there. He had an opportunity to have a tap in. Uh, Alan Forrest created a couple of openings as well. So we had chances in the first half to do better than what we did. Cammy Devlin a couple of times as well had opportunities to shoot from the edge of the box and didn't. But the biggest disappointment for me in the first half is Jan Dander. I He is far too scared when he's playing. I don't know. It's obviously a severe lack of confidence, or he's not confident in where he's playing. But every single time he gets the ball, he turns back and plays it backwards. He doesn't run for the ball. He doesn't chase it down. He doesn't commit to tackles. Even Alan Forrest was winning 50-50s and sliding in. Yandanda was just whatever the play was, it was very Barry Mackay-esque. Whatever the play was, he wasn't. And it wasn't because of shape, tactics, or style. it was because he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to be there. He was dropping into spaces he knew he wasn't going to get the ball, and that really is a worry for me because he was the one big hope. He was our marquee signing in the summer, and to be honest with you, if somebody came in and offered to take him in January, I'd get rid of him. If I'm being, I think we're at a point now where we've carried the sentimentality for too long. If someone came in and was willing to pay money for him, I'd get rid of him. He's done literally nothing. Uh, I know he scored the winner and in the 96th minute or whatever in our first European game in the groups, and we thank him for that. But in terms of output and where he is, we've just not seen it. Other than that opening 45 minutes against Rangers, I don't know what it is that's happened since then, but he's got severely short of confidence. But it's even just he's not trying anything too, and that's a big worry. Alan Forrest is a very limited football player, but he never really stops trying. He just sometimes he's not very good, right? But he keeps trying, and he kind of owns it and lives with the fact that he's not very good. But it doesn't stop him from trying to make something happen. Yandan does the opposite. Doesn't want the ball. There was a bit in the end of the first half actually where I think a ball had broke and we kind of fluffed the lines a bit in front of goal, shot corner. But the ball was going out for a throw in. Yandander could have ran, sprinted. There was a minute left of the first half. He could have sprinted and got the ball and threw it back. He didn't. He dawdled over, and by the time he threw the ball in, the ref had blown for half time. And I'm like, there's no urgency about what he wants to do. So that was my biggest disappointment in the first half, other than the sort of sloppy opening 10 minutes. Then the second half curse always happens. The second half started exactly the same kind of fashion as the first. We were slow and sluggish out the blocks, and then when we grow into the game, we start creating not just good chances but clear cut chances. Alan Forrest with a volley, if he hits it anywhere but where he hits it, he probably scores. We break. Penrice does brilliant, cuts it to Vargas. Vargas has get could do anything but do what he did. He turns back. He's took the passes took two defenders out of the game, and Vargas turns back into the defenders and tries to beat the keeper. Keeper makes a okay save, and then he inexplicably tries to score a header on the ground and just headers the ball back to the keeper when Shankland is there. The other thing too with that chance for Vargas is Devlin's there. If he squares it to Devlin, Devlin's got a tap in. We score. Shankland has a header that he floats across. It comes to him and he headers it wide. That he really should be scoring with. The handball chance as well. James Wilson does brilliant, and it's just that little bit of composure. And obviously it's a handball. We get the penalty for it. But those wee like chances, nothing's falling for us. It's just no falling for us. And then obviously the penalty. The penalty will be one of those things that will haunt, like Stephen Kingsley's penalty in the Celtic Cup final. It'll haunt me forever. I've never wanted somebody to score more than Lawrence Shankland because we've not had a player like him since Robbo, and people are chanting "get to fuck" for him right now and can't see that we're bottom of the league because we don't have Lawrence Shankland. Like that, we don't have Lawrence Shankland of last year, and we're bottom of the league because nobody scores goals. It's only Lawrence Shankland that scores goals. This is what life is like without Lawrence Shankland. If he doesn't score, Hearts don't score. I've never been so desperate for somebody to score. And all I was like with Stephen Kingsley, it's the same thing. Put the ball in the spot and put your laces through it down the middle, son. Just go back to absolute toe poke it if you've got to. Just absolute arsehole winder it down the middle and make the keeper do something. Because I don't know if I've seen it now, but I think the goalkeeper's potentially even off his line, but it doesn't matter because he misses the target. Do anything but just nonchalantly blaze it over the bar. My heart sank for him. I felt absolutely devastated for him and for Hearts as well. And then, you could just see the weight of the world is on his shoulders. His reaction at full time is not acceptable either. I get that he'll be personally disappointed with how it transpired and what happened, but he can't be mopey. He's a club captain or he's a team captain. He needs to face up what happened. Yes, I don't agree with the chance or whatever, But to walk away, chuck the band and walk away down the tunnel in a huff, I get it personally from a its personal point of view is probably devastated. But 4,000 folk have travelled a hell of a long way to watch you play. A clap, face the music, show everybody that we're unified, we're in this together, we're going to try and fix it. I bet I'll hold your hand up and say sorry, sorry, I didn't mean it, I'll get better, whatever it was. I just think he chose the wrong thing at the time, and it just fans the flame of he wants away and he hates us and he hates the club and all of that sort of stuff, which is all nonsense. Everybody knows that, I think, and the atmosphere on the build up to the game and in the stadium, that was a straw that broke the camel's back, and the reaction after that was a shameful one, one that I think a lot of people will probably feel a bit bad for now. Yeah, I'm not saying that they'll feel bad because Lon Shanklin is playing great and everything's brilliant. No, no, their opinion on him not performing is absolutely fine. I won't sit here and defend that, but I just think that it's not. I think that people need to take a step back and realise that we're living in a world without Lauren Shanklin right now. One goal in 22, and Hearts have failed to win more than 4 games. So it's a real worry that we can't score goals. Other things that I point out about Thursday that annoyed me, we can't keep clean sheets. But as much as Lauren Shanklin isn't scoring, if you don't score goals, you can't win. If you don't keep clean sheets, you can't even draw. And I look back to actually thinking that there's no in between with Hearts. We just don't. When was the last time we had a draw in Europe? We either win or get beat. There's no in between. I was thinking at points yesterday and probably tomorrow when we play Aberdeen or when you play Celtic or Rangers or Motherwell or Kilmarnock or whoever it is, we think, right, we're not playing well. Just didn't get beat. Like that's the thing. Like if we can't win, just don't get beat. And maybe that's a mentality shift because obviously where we're at now with Critchley, he's rather go get beat 2 or 3-0 than settle for a narrow 1-0 defeat type thing. But in Europe, that's how you build momentum. That's how you build where you've been. And I'm looking at we're Heidenheim head and shoulders above us and should have beat us easily 2-0 at home. They didn't beat us easily. We played well, but you know what I mean. You get a draw there. You get a draw. Maybe finishes 1-1, or you get it at 0-0 if you can't take your chances, but at least don't get beat. You get a point there. You get a point against that Bruges side. They were garbage. They were garbage. And you think, right, we're building something now. We go to Copenhagen if we can keep it tight. So then you also have to be either win or beat. That's how you build up points. It's how you position yourself in the table, and you build up your confidence in those things. To get beat in the manner in which we did, it really stung. And I won't lie, I touched on it there. I'm worried about where that leaves us now. We'll know this by the time this comes out, whether I'm slavering or if I've been proven right. But Thursday felt like a moment in time, really negative. Cammy Devlin spoke after it to say that he's sick of it in terms of, creating chances and not winning. I said in previous pods when we went to Aberdeen and we got beat 3-2 that there is no worse feeling on planet Earth for confidence and what it does to a club than walking off a park, looking around everybody and saying we've played well there and we've no won. You build confidence by looking around and going, he was rubbish, he was rubbish, he was rubbish. We won, or we didn't get beat. That's what helps. That's what builds confidence. That's what helps get you where you need to be. And my worry is that it was really bad on Thursday. The atmosphere, the reaction, the anger, the booing, the chanting. I just, I'm really worried about where that and what that does for us in the league. It feels like everything's. I don't want to say it's. There are similarities to the Daniel Stendel season, not in terms of the way we're playing or in anybody's managerial ability, none of that stuff. But we batter Hibs. Hamilton beat Rangers at Ibrox. You're like, what? Where did that? How did that? We can't catch a break. The day Dundee are 1-0 up, you think, good. Well, Hibs are winning, so we're now rock bottom. But if Dundee win, then a win tomorrow puts us above Kilmarnock, so we're not going to be bottom by the time Tomorrow's game finishes if we win, but now we win tomorrow, we're still bottom. Or I think we could maybe go above Hibs if we score enough goals. Everything just seems to be going against us. We cannot catch a break. We cannot catch a break. Their second goal, massive deflection. We just don't get that luck. We're just not getting that luck right now. Uh, Even the penalty, the first penalty of the season, I actually thought we had stronger claims for a penalty in the first half, uh, and we missed the penalty. These are all things that are a red flag for me. We can't keep clean sheets and can't score goals, and we have absolutely no luck. Everybody else round about us are getting what they need to do. If we don't win tomorrow, we're going to be cut adrift, and that's a real worry. We've lost 4 games on the bounce. Neil Critchley's lost 5 out of his 9 matches. How far we're in December? How far into a season do we need to go where we just keep saying we're too good to go down, we're too big to go down, we're too good to go down? It's going to change. It's going to do that. So I'm worried. Tomorrow a win blows all that worry away. We can now start to look at how do we then build momentum and stuff. And the thing I said on kickback was that how far do we keep going with Critchley with this, where for Critchley has to make a decision as to, yeah, there's a style and a formation and a philosophy that he wants to bring to the team, but his performances aren't bringing points, and it's points that we need on the board. Is there a line in which we go, we have to be compact, we have to stop what we're doing, we have to stop leaking goals, and we need to just start being hard to beat. We can do the rest in the pre-season or whatever, because it does strike me as the same as what it was like in 2019, 2020. We weren't getting any breaks, we couldn't score goals, we couldn't keep clean sheets, and everybody else around about us was picking up surprise results or big results that we couldn't keep up with. So hopefully something changes soon, because I really like Neil Critchley. I like the way he wants to play football. I like everything about it. I would hate for us to have to try and, like I said, throw that philosophy out the window. It's going to be, short term pain for long term gain, but we have to be in the Premier League. We can't. We need to burn the place down if we stare down the barrel of a third season in the Championship in a decade. We need to tear the place down. We need to get sorted. It needs to get sorted, and tomorrow is the perfect opportunity to do that. Against an Aberdeen side that now they're playing away games are suddenly struggling. But we said that about Circle Bruges. They aren't 1-7. We show up and roll over and give them 3 points. Aberdeen are in need of an away win, a bit of a confidence booster to get their challenge and for the title or whatever it is back on track. You know what Hearts will do. You know what Hearts are like. You know what Hearts will roll up and show up. And I hope I'm wrong. I genuinely hope I'm wrong. But I felt Thursday was a real pivotal point in our season. I hope. Don't batter me for being tears and snorters. I'm not. I promise I'm not trying to do it. But I did have a bad feeling about the reaction to Thursday and what we'll see tomorrow. So hopefully I'm wrong. Right, I've waffled on long enough in this house by myself. If you don't hear from me in the next 14 days, I haven't been sectioned or sitting in a straitjacket anywhere. I'm away. I'll try and keep connected to Hearts as much as I can, but I'm pretty full on when I'm over there working and stuff. So Kev, Ando and Sam will keep the content coming and keep using contact. I want to end by saying big, massive shout out to everybody. This is what blows my mind the most about having a podcast. The amount of people that I spoke to over in Bruges that talked about the podcast, said nice things about the podcast, talked about what the podcast means to them and all that stuff. I genuinely appreciate it. Yeah, I really do. I tried to talk to him as many as I can. The boys I spoke to in the pub, sorry if I forgot your name. It was class to sit and have a good chat for half an hour with. I hope you had a brilliant trip. To the boys I met in the square, exact same. I hope you had a brilliant trip and got home safe. Guys that we met in the airport whose flight were cancelled, I hope he's managed to get back up the road. Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading all of that sort of stuff. It genuinely puts a smile on my face that we managed to do something that people enjoy and like listening to. So thank yous all. I'll see you when I'm back, hopefully celebrating some victories and some goals for the Gorgie. All right, Gorgie rules.